Hey everyone, and welcome to Phoenix Talks with Brenda Wolf and Diane DiBiase. This week, our topic is called Patience and the Red Pill. Now, what does the red pill mean? Well, if you've seen the movie The Matrix, you'll get the reference because that's what Neo decides to take to leave the Matrix. And after last week, last week was my turn. So I reached out to Diane over the weekend and I said, okay, Tag, you're it. What are we talking about this week? And this was the topic that she came up with. So I'm actually going to let her take over the front of the stage for a moment and start the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, patience is something that I'm giving myself a lot of this week. I don't know about y'all, but it's been a wild ride this week, and I'm even personally experiencing some rough waters as we speak. So I'm going through it right now. But patience to me is having the fortitude and understanding to give others space, including yourself, as well as giving yourself space to allow every moment to unfold with complete authenticity. And patience has no conditions. It's holding space for oneself and others. And it's also patience for the general populace because you're in life situations that require you to have patience. Um, my personal issues this week are my ADHD burnout mode that I'm in. I'm overstimulated and understimulated at the same time, to the point where I've now fallen off the cliff and have to climb back up the mountain to bring myself back up to a state of regulation because it's all releasing.
Exactly. And there's so many people right now that are going through it. And before we dive into the red pill, patience itself is a choice. It is something that you choose to exhibit. It's not something that you gain strength in. It's not something that you can pray for more of. It is a choice to have in any specific moment. It's a learned choice. There's the difference. And to the extent that you're able to extend that patience also depends upon the self-care that you give yourself. And if you start to notice that that patience is starting to drift, hi guys, you're not taking care of yourself.
100%. And I'm proof of it because the burnout is because of the imbalance right now. And we all go through this in life where there's a work life imbalance or a imbalanced exchange of energies where you're putting out more than you're receiving. Self-care is paramount, and I preach that till I'm blue in the face. And I understand completely because I also experience times in life, now included, where you fall off that wagon because you're spread too thin that there's nothing left of you. And I am neurospicy. It's a little different in the neurodiverse world because the overstimulation creates a whole slew of symptoms. Let's just put it that way. A whole laundry list of symptoms that then begin to interfere with your experience. So the level of patience for yourself has to increase exponentially. I've been giving myself a ton of patience and compassion because I have to understand I'm operating in a burnout, dysregulated state. So I'm going to have an increase in my ADHD symptoms and all that glorious splendor that it is.
Oh yeah. And it's not just limited to an ADHD experience. It's not limited to a neurodivergent experience. It can also take on a physical experience because if you
Absolutely.
if you have high cholesterol, if you have arrhythmia, or and insert here, if there isn't a level of self-care and you have all of these, your output is more than your input, or vice versa, because sometimes the input is also causing that test of patience and that, God, I can't take any because you're taking so much on.
Right.
which in turn requires you to put so much more out. I don't know if anybody can tell or not. I'm deciding to stand today during the conversation because I've had a little extra energy this week and I just don't want to sit. So oh, we've got Miss D in the chat. Hi, Miss D. Quick shout out to you. Thanks for being here. And to the lurkers behind. You're not really lurkers. You're just listening and don't have anything to say, and that's fine too. Thank you for being here. So, welcome to the conversation.
Yes, about patience.
About patience.
The other thing that I'm recognizing this week specifically, and I'm using the term week loosely because time is a little blendy right now.
It's an illusion that we created so that we knew point A to point B anyway. So go ahead.
It's fine. Is that I'm having to practice patience with individuals and their limitations for my differences. So their projected expectations onto me are, not helping my burnout, but at the same time, I understand where they're at, and I'm exhibiting and practicing the patience with their limitations, not taking things personally, but also recognizing that it's doesn't feel very good to feel misunderstood and not having my needs met because it makes someone else uncomfortable. So that part there, we need more patience for. So we have to have patience for those who are limited because we understand that they are limited, and we have to have patience for ourselves for understanding that we need some time to regroup and replenish ourselves.
Exactly. Now, see, I'm going to flip this around because a lot of people will in their minds. What you experience from that person, they're experiencing from you in their own way. So what they are seeing, what they are experiencing from you, general you, not just you, can be a WTF in itself. Because all of a sudden, and this is what happens when a lot of people take the red pill, when they make that decision that they want to leave the known or the normal of what's expected, how to act, how to look, how to speak, how to be. So when we're looking at each other, and especially those of us that have made the decision that, okay, this programming inside of me, inside of here, ain't working no more. And I want to make a shift. And when we make that decision, we appear differently to other people. And they, all of a sudden, they're like, wait, I just took the red pill. Why do you look different now? So it works on both sides of perception. And why we need patience is so that we can allow what is going on between. And that helps us to slow down so that we can pay closer attention to ourselves. We can set healthier boundaries. And,
absolutely.
And it gives us the opportunity not to explode.
I will tell you that the reason why I'm burnt out is because I've been breaking my own boundaries, because it's very easy to fall into that trap of others needing your attention for themselves and you being a giver wanting to give of yourself. So I get caught in that trap, and I know that at this point, like, there's nothing left for me, and that's not fair.
Exactly.
So I'm breaking my own boundaries to set I'm off the clock time, and now this is Diane's time. And I fell off that wagon of self-care because I broke my own boundaries. So I'm back on the wagon as of right now.
And as
Twice a
coaches,
day.
one of our drives, one of our passions is to make an impact on other people. So when the opportunity is there, something inside of us lights up, and we could be tired as hell. We could just want to disconnect, but all of a sudden, somebody comes to us, I need help, and we just turn on. And that's where we also need to give ourselves patience, ourselves the boundaries as coaches. And this
Yes.
can expand to insert your role in life here. It's not just for coaches, but insert your role in life here, because you'll want to do, you'll want to do, you'll want to do, you'll want to give, because inside it lights you up. It makes you feel better, for whatever reason, whether you're a people pleaser or fully validated in yourself, it still lights you up. It still brings that good feeling in. So even when we're tired, even when we're completely drained, even when we are not giving self-care, we want. But we also have to recognize that we have to slow down, because the matrix is going to stay out there. And because that was the second part. It's not just about taking the red pill. It was about slowing down from the matrix, which is the programming that's all around us all the time.
Right. Right. And the patience that we need to exhibit for ourselves in order to operate and function is that of taking the time to have the self-care, whatever that looks like for ourselves individually.
Yeah.
Because the patience piece is to literally rip yourself out of the rat race and force yourself to slow it the heck down so that you're present with yourself in the moment and that you can fulfill your own needs.
Right.
If you're spread too thin and you're go, go, go constantly, you're not acting in purposeful manner. You need patience to act intentionally and purposefully. So now you're just operating too fast, and the faster you go, the more you're operating in fear.
Right.
And so, this is where you need to have that self-care balance, where you're going to end up burning out like me. Otherwise, and you ain't got to have any neurospiciness to burn out. It could happen to anybody, you know.
And
Self-care.
and if you're watching the replay, I want to. This isn't a homework exercise like last week, but if you're watching the replay, I want you to rewind just a little bit. And I want you to see where I purposefully was talking very quickly. And then I grounded myself without you knowing it and slowed down what I was saying. Because it can happen that fast. It is a choice to just breathe and slow down.
Right. I always find that I'm more productive if I slow down and I become more patient with myself, because what's my rush? Who am I answering to but myself? I have
Yep.
to remind myself of these things. And it's very easy for me to get caught up in people pleaser mode. So I have to set boundaries. To me, that's paramount.
Right.
And that's really what I got to do. And I got to shut it down and put my office hours okay, I'm out of office now.
Exactly. And we have a comment from the chat saying robotic movement when
Mhm.
we're just doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Right. Right. So, reevaluating, resetting goals, rethinking my schedule, the whole nine is happening right now. But I need to be patient with the unfolding of what I'm setting up for myself. This
Yes.
burnout stuff ain't it. I ain't feeling it. It's not working out.
And when there's always physical cues for everything that we feel. Always. So when it comes to
There
patience,
is.
if you feel yourself, it's a heart flutter. And then the heart starts racing. There's a blood pressure change. There's flushness to the face. And you feel all of this. Oh God, I'm about to lose my patience. Does everybody think this way? No, sometimes they just roll with the feeling and react. But there is a recognizable physiological warning sign. You're about to lose your patience.
Yep.
And if
Can
you
I
lose
just tell
your
you how many?
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, can I just tell you how many times I check in with myself um, because I sense that I'm tense, unclench my jaw, relax my neck muscles and shoulder muscles, relax my head muscles. Like there's muscles here that you don't realize can tense, so like just practicing checking in with myself helps. If that helps anybody
Anxiety
else.
disorder was just mentioned in the chat.
What was that?
Anxiety disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just got off a group call. It's once a month with my mentor, and anxiety was actually brought up. Do you know it's not a disorder? It's
It's a normal,
actually a signal of stress.
yeah, it's a normal response to an abnormal circumstance and situation.
But we're so eager to get it fixed and put a label on it so that we can make an identity of it.
Mm-hmm.
I am, insert here. So that we can justify, so that we can validate, so that we can have reason, so that we can have excuse, so that we can put it there and not here.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are having those experiences of putting out too much, going too fast, being in robotic movement, having to go to the emergency room because we feel like we're having a heart attack, when in fact it's just anxiety. Not always. Sometimes it is our actual heart attack. So just putting that out there now. But
Yeah.
if it feels that way, yes, go and have it checked out, because you need to make sure that you have not stressed yourself out to the point that you are in danger.
Right.
And if you're moving that fast through the matrix and you decided that you want to take the blue pill and be blissful in the experience that you're having, thank you for watching. Have a good day.
Yeah.
I love you anyway.
I will tell you that nature helps me a lot. I immerse myself in nature, and that's kind of like a little magic happy pill that helps me ground, cleanse, release whatever I need to release. I rent a campsite for myself for a day or two or whatever, so I can just have a fire ring and immerse myself in nature. If that's a good suggestion for some, go for it, give it a shot. You don't have to have anybody with you or go camping. It's cheap. And it's a great way to isolate yourself from other people's energies. And sometimes we need to do that. Sometimes I have all my camping gear in the car. Because I do camp. But anyway, uh back to what you were saying before. I wanted to add that when we are talking about patience and our own evolution in this rat race world, and we decide to take that red pill, the first thing that we're going to need is giving ourselves patience as we move forward in this journey for ourselves, because um, we're going to criticize ourselves tremendously because of the programming when we
More
start
so
to.
than before.
What was that?
More so than before.
Yes.
Want to throw that in. Go on.
Yes, because you're intentionally being self-aware. So that's why you're actually focusing on it intentionally. So as you go through that, you have to have patience for the process, because it does take time for things to surface for you to acknowledge. You'll feel it in your body. Again, we were talking about the muscle tension, but there's many ways. Like some people feel it in their chest, some people, get dry mouth, their hands sweat, whatever. Everyone's different.
Yeah. Oh
yeah. But the point is that when we first step out onto that bridge that will magically appear when we take the step, we have to give patience to the process itself and allow things to unfold for us to experience
Right.
over whatever time it's meant to unfold itself. And it all depends on your vibration and what you're putting out.
Exactly.
So because I'm going to I'm going to throw myself under the bus because I'm self-aware and I know exactly what I'm doing wrong. Because I have been, we have a lot of extra work and the volume has increased at my day job. And I am more burnt out because I'm doing more and being spread more thinly. I recognize that I tend to speed up when I feel like I have more to do. When for me, the reality is I need to slow myself down and be patient with myself to complete one task at a time because it'll go much faster. And so when I get into that burnout phase of my cycles, because they happen, I'm human. I'm just aware, that's all. So when I go through my burnout cycles and catch myself, I recognize, okay, I'm moving too fast. This is where the patience piece comes in because it's really hard for us to slow ourselves down because we're programmed to be like, hurry, 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 or you're worthless. You have to be productive or you're worthless. So it's almost tied to our worth in some ways. So you're worth waiting for, you're worth building a foundation of, you're worth being patient for so that you can evolve at your own pace.
Right. Question from the chat that goes with what you just said. What about when I can't do that? Well, I have a story. I'll keep it brief. I'll try to anyway, but I have a story. So my future brother-in-law works for Dippin' Dots as a delivery driver, and they have been very short-handed, extremely short-handed, to the point where they're having to make 18 stops in a single day. Now, the start time is 7:30. The end time is supposed to be 5 or 5:30. And with 18 stops, and they have to load their own trucks, each stop on average takes a half hour. That doesn't include travel time. That includes dealing with the displays, dealing with the store, dealing with the management. Just at the stores. And their expectation is to be done and back at the warehouse by 5:30. Not humanly possible on any timeline. So when we have, and the reason that I am explaining this in this much detail is because when we are piled with expectations from people who are paying our checks, there also has to be the understanding of we are human, can only do so much before we collapse.
Yes.
So
And it's okay to set back. And I assume the can't is referring to you're not able to have that work-life balance because you don't have the luxury of, I don't know, whatever. What is the can't? I guess I need the specifics. Need more
once she
answers.
catches up in chat, I will
Okay.
Carrie, who gave us the question, specify what the can't is so that we know the correct direction. In the meantime, when it comes to the patience and when it comes to the increase in expectations, the boundaries are important. and
Yes.
that they are prime at that
Yes.
particular time. And they can expect you to do two, three, four people's jobs. All they
Yeah.
want, sincerely, all they want, they can have that expectation. Sure, go ahead, blue pill person, and think that that's okay. Meanwhile, I'm going to, and this is where it's important, regardless of any yeah right, yes, you whatever. Here's where it's important. I'm okay knowing that I did my best.
Mhm.
I have the patience and grace upon myself to know that I did my best. And we
Absolutely.
have, let's see, here's what gets me though. They expect that other things in your life are just hobbies. Exactly, they
So
do.
I'm gonna say that like I know I'm blessed to have a very wonderful leader for a boss who was kind enough to give me the day off today because, you know, I need to self-regulate and release and whatever. Um,
Bless her
but
for the
the
recognition
re
that things were about to get not so nice.
but the reality is that I'm authentic though. So like I will present myself with my truth in a respectful and professional manner and have discussions about my needs. And my needs will be accommodated to within reason. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have
Right.
the issues of like being afraid of being authentic and speaking my needs professionally in that environment. So maybe that comes with maybe if you need some tips and on how to communicate in a professional manner your needs or express, you know, your boundaries or whatever with your boss, or you can do that. Just do some homework because there's plenty of information. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there. So just check out ways to effectively communicate without crossing any lines.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we get our emotions involved with it and we don't really need to. It's just this is where I'm at. This is my reality. It's that simple. This is me, authentic,
And
raw.
I this has been a big thing for me lately with the phrase trying to. Now, when we say it to ourselves or when we say it in response about something that we're working on in ourselves, it's basically an excuse not to. When you say it to somebody else who has authority over you, authority over your livelihood and your income, they hear the same thing. They hear it as an excuse in whatever charged manner that may be. And that's part of the blue pill, red pill, because you know that you're not lying. You know that you are doing your best. You know that you are trying to do the job that's expected of you to the best of your ability. You know this, you know this, you know this.
Right.
But they hear, no, you don't. No, you aren't. You got to do more. You're not doing enough. But to not take that personally and have the patience to not take that personally will affect the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope that answered the question or the what was in the chat about what if you can't.
Um, I kind of answered what was said in the chat uh,
Okay.
because I love you, Carrie, and there's a little bit of venting, which is fine. I completely get it and understand.
Yeah.
But you know, there are people that make these rules and make these expectations that haven't been in it. They've taken their own form of the red pill, got the hell out, and decided to make the rules. So, yes, those people we still have in corporate settings still have to deal with.
We do, or non-corporate settings, whatever work professional settings you find
Yes,
yourself in. Ultimately, you still can carry yourself in a specific way that is respectful, professional, well thought out, eloquent. You can still communicate effectively, and it doesn't matter how it's received, as long as you're being authentic with yourself. Um, are you in a position where you think you're going to get fired? Maybe it's time to look outside and, maybe you have already. Maybe it's like just be patient and wait for the opportunity to unfold as long as you maintain authenticity. Because I think the more you align yourself with you authentically, the more opportunities just magically appear for you. And that's something else that isn't going to happen unless I get myself off this hamster wheel of burnout.
exactly. And
I
when
kick myself off.
the, I want to address something to the best of my ability, okay? Because when there is the feeling of fear that you have to do what is expected, regardless of how much that is, because of financial needs. Okay, story time. We're gonna jump onto the Brindle branch real quick. Because when I was working at a brand I won't mention, and trying to maintain standards, expected standards, when I was trying to, I failed. Point blank. I slowed down. I upset people. I wasted food, made mistakes, and left miserable. Now, I could put that on them. I could very easily, because the expectations of that particular brand are incredibly bad. Just gonna leave it there. Bad. Bad, bad. Stop it. You're hurting people. But getting lost, losing patience, made me slow down. And no, I wasn't able to do what I needed to do because I got lost. So I hope that that analogy and metaphor helps with when we are presented with more than what we presume not to be able to do. Now, when it
Well,
comes to time barriers that I was talking about before, that's just ridiculous expectation and needs to be reevaluated. And there's nothing that can be done about that.
right. And sometimes it's hard because there's the environment and the world that we live in is impatient, generally speaking. And impatience and frustration lead to anger and resentment, and this train seems to, stop at every turn. So that's the challenge of navigating through authentically, is because you're going to need more patience for individuals who have no patience, um, so that you can help yourself navigate through and maintain a level of patience for yourself. Because it's almost like you got to hold back the crowd so that you can give yourself that grace.
Right, right. I just had the thought that some viewers might be like, well, I saw your promo and you haven't really, Morpheus out here and, you haven't really talked about the Matrix. I don't need to.
We
We
live in it.
need to. You know why? We already have 21 times. We just didn't use that label.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of those feelings, all of these things that we try and prove, all of these validations, all of these judgments, all of these opinions. I could try and list the entirety of the episode names, but I'm not going to because I don't need to.
So breaking out of the matrix is basically, um, authenticity, staying present, allowing things to unfold, surrendering to the process, maintaining your own integrity, being self-aware, practicing self-love, like these are all things that break you out of the matrix. And it's easy to get sucked back in. You just got to pull yourself back out and give yourself that grace and patience to allow yourself to realign and rebalance yourself. Just got to keep going.
Right. And we're not here to give permission for mental days to be an excuse not to go to work. I just felt the need to put that out there because I know that that is a large trend in the last few years of, I'm sorry, I can't come in today. I need a mental day. Now, you, directly you, this time I'm pointing at you, Diane. Needed. And it was observed.
It was.
That it was needed. That's what makes your boss a good boss.
Yes. She's a fabulous role model and leader. I'm very, very lucky and
Yes.
blessed to be learning from this woman. She's definitely a blessing. So I'm very lucky in that sense where I have the compassion. I work in the mental health industry anyway, so kind of like it's kind of a job requirement to be
Hand in hand.
compassionate.
Our viewers are chatting amongst themselves, so I keep looking down to see what they're saying to each other.
But
Just to see if
yes,
there's anything I want to pull out of the conversation and throw on air.
yeah, yes. And I appreciate her patience and understanding towards me having to self-regulate. But this is, I think part of it is the respect is there for each other because of my authenticity, because of my ability to very calmly express myself in a respectful manner and get my communication of my needs across in a professional manner. So like there is that mutual respect there. And that's something that you can help yourself with. I've built that for myself. And I think that's something that's achievable, not in every work environment. Again, you got to gauge the audience because sometimes you don't have that luxury of that kind of a boss. But you can also switch somewhere else where you can interview your boss when you're getting interviewed. You can also ask behavioral health related questions to your boss, like give me an example of, or your future boss, I should say, because when you're interviewing, you can interview your boss or your future boss as well.
Exactly.
You can ask questions like, and you're allowed to ask questions like, so what was your managerial style like when you X, Y, and Z? Because that's what you mentioned or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you could ask what they're like and what their employees' feedback of them is.
There's a whole training website that I highly endorse. It's called Work It Daily. And I'm gonna give a shout out right now. They are amazing when it comes to teaching how to deal with interviews, teach you how to write your resume, teach you how to set up LinkedIn, and that you can have a back and forth conversation when you're going into a different line of work.
Right. Now, how does that fall into patience? Well, if you're not in a place where your time and energy are being respected or appreciated, then you need to make a decision for yourself and have the patience and understanding to select much differently for yourself going forward. And that's something that you need to give yourself. You can't rush into something if your fear is oh, I can't pay my bills. Trust that you will find something, but you have to trust in yourself.
Yeah. Because whether you can or whether you believe you can, whether you believe you can't, either way, you're right.
Yeah.
And if you believe you can't pay your bills, and if you believe that you have to have that job in order to, you're right.
Yeah.
100%. No denying. And
Exactly.
and that's not calling out, that's not being passive aggressive. That is 100% truth because you have
Yeah,
decided it to be.
exactly. And again, this is where we be patient with people who don't understand you and who project their limitations at you with their expectations or demands or whatever it is. I had somebody tell me recently that I should not pursue a career in my field of expertise because I won't make any money at it because it doesn't make any money. And I very politely said, Um, that's a very limited belief, and I don't subscribe to that limiting belief myself.
And if that causes people to scratch their head, that's okay. They don't have to understand you.
Yes, they don't.
It's
It's
not your
okay.
job to prove to them too.
Right.
Lessons I learn every day in some way.
But we need patience because the patience that we give to others, we're giving actually to ourselves. Because if we lose patience with others, then we're agitating our own energy. We're creating this space of frustration within ourselves.
Yeah,
And we're creating this energy for ourselves that we don't want, and it's going to give us more experiences that create more frustration and impatience.
right.
Like I said, the more I hurried, the more work I had. So now I'm going to slow it the heck down, all the way down,
But
because
knowing that it's going to, and it's is a very large very large, it's going to take
Mhm,
time.
it is. But I got to
You
get the
can
ball
make a
rolling. I got to
decision
be
a
consistent.
split second to change.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful. You're excited about it. And then you go and you start it and it's all new and you feel it. And then you get bored, distracted, self sabotage, start procrastinating, which I talked about on Facebook yesterday.
Yeah.
And then wonder why you have no patience
Right. Right.
because you gave it away.
Yes. And impatience leads to feelings of not enoughness. And yeah, it is reinforced from all the external sources that we're surrounded with.
Yep.
Um, but in order to take that red pill and break free from the matrix, you have to understand that that's not realistic. And you need to step away from that and decide what your needs are and how to meet them. Yes, you're
Right.
going to fall off that wagon from time to time because it's easy to get sucked in when people need your help and or people want to just be in your presence or talk to you or whatever. I get it. But that don't mean we can't, you know, do what we got to do and regroup and get back out there with more patience for ourselves.
Remember, if you've seen The Matrix, Neo didn't immediately walk
No.
just because he took that red pill. Now, granted, sci-fi, they were able to plug in and download new programming, and all of a sudden he was speaking another language, and then he was, fighting kung fu at double black belt levels and all of this other stuff. But the world around him, when that decision was made, seeing the reality was a lot to take in.
Mm-hmm.
And it required a level of self-care and patience that he wasn't used to.
Right.
I mean, think about the food difference just in the movie. And that's why the other character, whose name Cypher, that's why Cypher chose the blue pill and stayed because he wanted steak,
Yes.
knowing that what he was eating wasn't steak. And that says a lot. Knowing that what you're doing is not what's best for you, but doing it anyway because you're comfortable in what you're doing. That's allowing the programming to continue. And yes, sometimes the blue pill for people is a beautiful thing, and that's exactly where they need to stay. I'm not going to shit on them. That's where they need to stay because that's what makes them them. And we learn from them. We're surrounded by the difference. Each and every experience that we have with somebody. Each and every day. We see somebody who is recognizing that there is programming inside of me that I need to change. Then we're recognizing the people who have made the decision to give us those mirrors so that we understand that.
Right.
So yeah, we need both. Which do you want to take? Which do you want to be? What reality do you want to have in your life? And do you have the patience to go through it?
Some of us are a bridge between both worlds, and that adds a little extra spice to it because you need to be able to do both, function in and out of the matrix so that you could lead the way.
That's why the movie, no matter how many times they try and end the story, they can't. But here, Neo, have a cookie.
There's a nerd joke in there somewhere about the Oracle handing Neo a cookie.
Precisely that joke.
You had to accept the cookie. Very clever.
And
Very clever.
rewiring, rethinking is a daily process.
Mm-hmm.
Recognizing our experience from a moment to moment is a process. This was talked about in my live Zoom call earlier because one of the other coaches, she was going through a lot, and she's really downing herself because, well, how can I go through this? Meanwhile, I have the understanding that you're trying to teach. Meanwhile, I'm still allowing all of this to happen. David Key looked at her and said, okay, I want you to make sure that you can see the gallery view so that you can see all of the coaches that are on camera. And then he asked all of us, how many of you have shit days? Every single coach raised their hand. I raised both. Because it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And this is why patience and slowing down through the matrix is such
Right.
an important topic today, which we're getting close to wrapping up because we've thrown a lot.
Yes.
It is so important because life happens. And sometimes it's shitty.
Yes. And sometimes it's shitty from our own doing, but the reality still remains we need to have patience with ourselves because perhaps that's exactly what we need to experience for ourselves. That's why it's a cycle, because what is it how can I redirect myself? How can I love myself more deeply? In what ways can I support my future goals? How
Right.
can I shift myself into a different state of being? What's not working? What is working? Like sometimes we need to stumble through stuff and barely make it to the other side so we can reconstruct ourselves. Like here's
Oh
another
yeah.
movie reference. Dr.
Oh yeah.
Manhattan from The Watchers.
Not familiar enough with that one to get the reference, but maybe I'll watch the movie sometime.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, at least look up the character. You'll understand.
And once again, you and I have had such an amazing conversation, and we're literally both on the same wavelength, saying the same things. I pick up where you leave off, you pick up where I left off.
Love it.
And it's always amazing here on Phoenix Talks. And we're at 50 minutes.
Oh my God.
Speaking of time, just
Yeah,
passing by, we've almost gone an hour just on this topic, and we could go for days.
we're very
But we're not going
patient.
to. But we're not going to. But to any of the viewers that are watching this in the replay, thank you so much for sticking through and not watching just a little bit here and there, because there's a lot of juice in this conversation, just like any conversation. But thank you. If you have any suggestions, either in the live chat before we sign off, or if you're watching the replay and you have any suggestions of a topic, we're open to them. Throw it at
Absolutely.
us, and we will not, I promise you, not talk about it, but until you see us side by side, or flipping back and forth, however the video goes up.
Yes.
But we do not talk about it until I say go.
Yep. That's what makes it so great. I have no idea what you're going to say.
No, we don't. And I have actually asked people, or not really asked, but mentioned. I was like, the way that it just goes back and forth, you would think that it was actually scripted, but it's not. We just talk. And that's why this is such an amazing podcast that I look forward to every week.
It is. And thank you for letting me share myself as well, because that's, I'm going through it.
We all are.
Indeed.
Every human being on the planet goes through it. Goes through the need of practicing patience, not learning it, not achieving it, not getting it, not a higher power giving it to you. Practicing it, knowing it. Because you already have it. It's just a decision.
Right. Yep. Plenty of practicing for me, that's for sure.
But if you can't make that decision, if you can't make the decision to be patient, that's telling. Here's your sign.
Yes. You do have to choose.
Yes. And hopefully if you receive that sign, you'll start taking care of yourself.
Yes.
And always, if you need a little bit of a push, reach out to either one of us. The links will be below the description once I post it up. But the links to reach out to either one of us will be available, and we would love to work with you and help you rise through your authenticity, evolve from the matrix, and emerge the beautiful you that is waiting inside. So with that, until next week, have an amazing week. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend if you celebrate. And to all the kids who are going back to school, happy learning. Love you guys. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.